Thank you, John, for letting us interview you for Father's Day.
You're welcome.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine.
Great to hear. So, we wanted to talk a little bit about your story, about you, your family. So, if you could just kind of get us into it and start with telling us about yourself, where you're from, and how you got started in all this.
Well, I was born in Walter Reed Army Hospital in Washington, D.C.,
Okay.
and grew up in Alexandria, Virginia. Went to public high school there, played football and track and wrestled, and
Okay.
then graduated and went on to the University of Virginia for my undergraduate degree, where I majored in psychology. And that's where I got involved in the military.
Oh,
My
wow.
father was a career officer, and he suggested that I try. He didn't push me, but he said it would be a good idea to get test out your interest in the military by joining the ROTC.
Okay.
So I joined the Army ROTC, and after I graduated, I was commissioned as a second lieutenant, and
Very
that
nice.
started my career.
Wow, that's impressive. So, going into a little more detail, um, when was this? Like around what time?
It was 1967 when I was graduated and was commissioned as a second lieutenant. Then I went on to officer basic school at Fort Bliss, Texas.
Okay.
And after I finished there, I was assigned to a Hawk missile unit in West Germany. Well, it was West Germany then. Um, and I worked as a platoon leader in one of the batteries, and then I was promoted to first lieutenant and was then appointed as battalion adjutant
Wow.
for my colonel. And that was quite an experience because, as you well know, the military has its own filing system for documents and everything.
Yeah.
But my colonel uh, didn't uh, didn't subscribe to that. So we had two different filing systems for the inspections. I had one that I used daily for the colonel who wanted, uh, different documents sent to him or given to him. And then I had one stashed away in the storeroom for when the inspectors came, and it was all set up according to the official military um, filing system. I
Right.
did that for about a year, and then I was promoted to a battery commander of a Hawk missile unit
Okay.
in um, Bad Hersfeld, Germany, which was right on the East German border. I
Okay.
did that until I was promoted to captain, and that's when I got my orders for Vietnam.
Oh, wow. Okay. What rank are you most proud of that you have earned?
Oh, I think being a captain was quite prestigious. I became a captain in 2 years, and then when I went to
That's impressive.
Vietnam, um, I was over there as a military advisor,
Hmm.
and uh, that was um, that was a whole nother experience. But in any case, that was the rank I was most proud of.
Very nice. Very nice. Can you tell us a little about your experience in Vietnam?
Yes, I was assigned to uh, a military intelligence unit based in Nha Trang, which was just north of Saigon.
Hmm.
I was a military advisor, and I was basically assigned to two corps. Vietnam was divided into four corps. I
Okay.
Corps was up north where the Marines were. Two Corps was Central Highlands. Three Corps was around Saigon, and four Corps was down in the Delta. So I was up in the Central Highlands, in
Okay.
Pleiku and Khartoum and Dalat and some of the other Bami Tuat and places like that. My job was to advise the MACV advisors there and the special forces there and to gather intelligence. One of the major functions we had was to monitor the Ho Chi Minh Trail, which came down through Cambodia, which was right on the border where Khartoum was, and to determine, troop movements, military hardware movements, things like that, that we would pass along. And every now and then we would capture a Viet Cong or North Vietnamese and get them back to base to interrogate them and that sort of thing. So I traveled around a lot on an airline called Air America, which was a CIA airline,
Okay.
and just kind of did intelligence work and that sort of thing.
Interesting, very interesting. You've been to with the military.
Oh, I was just the only countries I was in was Germany and Vietnam.
Okay. Um, which medals or citations are you most proud of or honored to have received?
I think the most honored one was the Bronze Star, and the other one would be the Combat Infantryman's Badge.
Okay. What would you, why?
Because they were earned.
Okay.
Uh, they weren't awarded. They were earned, and then so I'm very proud of those.
And you sure do. Do you have any other, have you received any other medals besides those?
I had a Vietnamese cross um, that was given to me by the South Vietnamese Army and the mountain yards that we advised up in the highlands.
Wow. Okay. Tell us about some special people you met throughout your military career that you remember.
Oh gosh, it's been so long.
Anybody that stands out, maybe, that made a difference while you were in the military?
Well, I think that the one person I that stands out that I had a lot of respect for was my colonel in Vietnam, Colonel Garcia. Um, he was um, he was on his third tour, and I always ask him about why in the world would you want to come back three times?
Mm-hmm.
And he told me that his philosophy was that God had this big book up in the sky, and he turns a page, and if your name's on that page, you're going to die. But it doesn't matter where you are. It could be in Vietnam. It could be you get run over by a bus.
Mm-hmm.
So he was fatalistic in that sense. Um, but it made me think about, um, you know, how do you look at your service when you're in combat? And so it was quite an interesting reveal to me.
Sounds interesting. What would you say is the worst, the best and worst military food they served you?
Well, the worst food was the sea rations that we got in
Mm-hmm.
Vietnam. And when we were out on patrol and things like that, we ate off the economy, which was, and the mountain yards were with us. We would eat monkeys and snakes and things like that. So none of that was very appealing.
Yeah.
I guess the best food I had was in the officers' clubs in Germany.
Okay. Okay. Um, tell me, do you have any funny stories that you can think of that only people in the military would experience?
Well, yeah, I have a couple of them. One was when I was stationed up on the East German border with the 14th Cav and the Hawk missile battery up there. Whenever the Hawk missile battery went down in state, meaning it was non-op for maintenance and repairs and things, we would get flyovers from the MiGs
Mm-hmm.
so low that the pilots would wave at us and we'd wave back at them, and we had kind of a symbiotic relationship with the MiG
Mm-hmm.
pilots. And then the other one was when I was in Vietnam and I had was injured a little bit. I was in the 8th Field Hospital, and first time I got out of bed and went down to the lounge, I saw all these drips, and you went over to this area where all these drips were, and the drips were bourbon, scotch, vodka, and gin. So you would just open up one of the drips and put your cup under it and drink your spirits.
Interesting, interesting. Um, how did your military experience affect your life in a good or bad way? Would you say?
Well, it's I think what it's done is it's made me resilient. It's made me patient, um, and it's given me a sense of uh, personal responsibility, uh, willingness to take on responsibility, willingness to be responsible for your own actions,
Mm-hmm.
and to be mindful of your colleagues, because in the military, your colleagues can make or break you in terms of living or dying in a combat zone, and in a garrison zone, in a
Mm-hmm.
garrison situation. They help you accomplish your mission. So being mindful of work colleagues has been one of the residual effects of the military.
Was your dad in the military?
Yes, he was a career officer. Um, he was at the Battle of the Bulge in World War II, and he was on MacArthur's staff when the war ended, and when MacArthur was over in Japan, and I was there as a little kid.
Oh, wow.
And then he was in Korea, and then he retired, became worked in the government after that.
Okay. And how do you like working in the military Order of the Purple Heart Foundation? How'd you end up here, basically?
Well, I had a long career in the private sector. Um, when I uh, when I got out of the military, um, I went to law school,
Mm-hmm.
and after law school and passing the bar, I then decided to switch branches. So I took courses and became a JAG officer, and was assigned to the 101st Airborne Division down at Fort Campbell. I was in a reserve capacity, so I wasn't actually there, but I was on call in case they needed me. And then I finally decided that the military career that I was pursuing was interfering with my private sector career. So I got my discharge and became a lobbyist basically, and worked for
Okay.
several different associations. I worked in the White House for President Reagan.
Wow.
I worked in the Justice Department as a legislative um, uh, attorney, and then I got a job with the National Funeral Directors Association, where I stayed for about 17 years, representing funeral service before Congress and the federal regulatory agencies. And then I retired, and then I decided I wanted to give back to my, using my veteran status, I wanted to give back to veterans. So I found this job with the Purple Heart Foundation, and and was hired. And um, my sole mission in life now is to um, make sure that I can raise enough money to support the programs that the foundation funds through the military order.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful, John. Well, I think that concludes our interview. Thank you for sharing your story. I think it's memorable. It's great. You have a wonderful career behind you, and you just get to enjoy. uh,
I know
um,
um, some of my best years were in the military, with associating with really great people and giving me responsibility at a young age. I mean,
Definitely, definitely.
just a kid out of college, a rookie. All of a sudden, you're battery commanders or your military advisor and stuff. I mean, um, it was quite a wonderful experience.
I bet. I bet. And like I said, thank you for your service. We are very grateful for it.
Well, you're